This is how the IEEE conference paper template first page looks like. So in the first page, the components that you have to include is first a paper title. The title goes on top of the entire page. And here on the paper title, you have to write the title that you are going to decide for your report or paper. So under the paper title, notice that the first letter of each of the words are chosen as the capital letter, and you should follow that for your paper title as well. But if you have some smaller prepositions or conjunctions, then please do not use the capital letters for the first letter of those small words like and or of or in. So if you have any of these small letters or even the D, so if you have these small words in your paper title, then please do not capitalize the first letters of these small words, but all the other words that you have in your paper title, please do capitalize the first letter. So after you are done with the paper title, you should go to the authors. But before I start describing the authors, just the last thing that I would like to tell you about the title is that make sure that your title is compact, but it gives the basic information of your paper. So never make this paper title more than 2 lines. And a very short paper title also does not convey your actual contribution to a particular paper. So make it just the moderate size. 1 to 2 line is enough. And the font size, font style, everything that they are giving here must be maintained perfectly. That is a very important thing to follow a template. So whenever you write something on a specific place of this template, you have to follow the formatting of the font size, font type, font color, and anything else, the paragraphs, spacing, and all those things accurately. So that is a very important thing to follow in a template. So you must not modify any of the formatting that is given in the title or in the author's name or in the abstract or in the section headings or in the main body of the paper. So you must follow these things. That is why use this template as the starter and write on top of it. So please do not create your own template that looks kind of like this template, because in that way you are not really following the template. Now next we are going to describe about the authors' names. These authors' names must be written according to the contribution. So if you think that the first author should be the one who has the highest contribution in the work. The second would be the next highest contribution maker. The third would be the one who has the least contribution. So you must follow the contribution order in your group as well. So when you write this, do not write the line 1, line 2, and so on, because they are just showing you these lines. So when you prepare your own authors list, do not put this line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and line 5. They are just showing you what you have to write in the dedicated locations. So instead of line 1, given name, surname, you just write your uh, your first contributed author's first name and then last name. Say for example, if it was me, I would just write Nafisa space Noor for the first line of the author. And then I would write my department name here in the second line, like Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. In the third line, I would just write the organization's name, which would be North South University. In the line 4, I would just write Dhaka, Bangladesh. And in the line 5, I would write my email address that is affiliated with my institution. So in the same way, do fill the second and third author's name. And if you do not have any fourth, fifth, and sixth author, then just remove the lines given here. So there won't be anything here if you do not have any fourth, fifth, or sixth author. If you also do not have a third author, then you also should eliminate these all these lines given here. So the paper title and the author's names and affiliations are quite straightforward. Now we are coming to the actual contents of this paper. So the first content in a paper is the abstract, and this is a very important topic because in many journals and conference papers, the actual paper can only be read with certain subscriptions. So only a few privileged people can read the entire paper, but the abstract is open for all. So the abstract must be written in such a way so that it summarizes the entire paper. So the abstract is kind of like a different part of the paper. So that would summarize everything only inside this much space. And in some journal papers, there are some dedicated length for the abstract. For our papers or reports, we're going to use an abstract with the maximum length of 250 words. Our abstracts must not be longer than this. This is our maximum length for abstract. So next, I'm going to tell you what you are going to write in an abstract. And there are always some confusions about what to write in the abstract. But what we're going to write is that in the first sentence of the abstract, we're going to write about the field that you are working on. On this second line, you have to write what you have done in this paper or the report. On the third line, you will very briefly describe some important methods that you have used, but make sure that you do not add too much details of the methods in the abstract because the abstract must not have a lot of descriptions of the methods. Then on the fourth, fifth, or whatever lines, sentences you have in your abstract, you're going to write about the results, the main results that you got. So if you're only doing a literature review, then just write about some important key points that you found in your literature review in the results section, because a literature review paper doesn't really have any result, because a literature review paper is not an original paper. It's a review or summary of the other papers. So you basically would not have any results section, and also you would not have any method section. So you should just summarize a few categories that you have divided your literature review paper. So in the methods and results section of your abstract, you're going to mingle them, and you're just writing, you're going to write what you have divided the categories of the topic that you are reviewing in this literature review paper. Okay, next, you should conclude the abstract with a positive tone by saying the application of the circuit that you are working with, or by saying the application of the topic that you are going to review in this paper. So always conclude with a positive sentence with some possible applications or some importance of the topic that you are working with. So that's all about the abstract. And there are some keywords. In the keywords, you're going to write some words that are important, that can be the possible searching words of the other people, so that if this was a real paper and if this is going to get published in the internet, people search by the keywords and get your paper. So keywords should be some important keywords of your paper that people may search and get your paper easily. So search some of those keywords from your title and the paper and write those in the keywords. Next section here is the actual first section of the paper. So the paper basically is starting from here. So your paper is starting from the introduction, and what you had in the abstract is basically a summary of the entire paper that is starting from here and ending up to the conclusion. So here we are actually starting our main paper with the introduction. Now, what do we write in the introduction? In the first paragraph of the introduction, you should write about the field of the topic that you are working on, the importance and motivation of the work. On the second paragraph of the introduction, you should write about the literature review, what other people have done. And in the third paragraph of the introduction, you should write the work that you have done in this paper. So we often use the last paragraph or the third paragraph of the introduction with the keywords. In this work, and then we start describing we have done this. So here, instead of the 3 paragraphs, sometimes we may have more paragraphs. Sometimes we may also have a figure inside the introduction if that is necessary for us, because the motivation may often take more than 1 paragraph, and the literature review of the different topics that are included in your paper might also take a few distinct paragraphs. And one key point here is that do not make your introduction, do not make any of your paragraphs too long. It is always good to separate the contents in separate paragraph, but while making a new paragraph, make sure that you have a continuous flow of reading. Do not just jump from one topic to the other very abruptly, because uh, that really makes a discontinuity in the reader's mind. So make sure that you have a very good flow in your writing. And while writing, you must follow these font styles given here, and also make sure to justify your paragraphs. See, these paragraphs are starting from here and ending here nicely. So this is called the justified version of the paragraph settings. So make sure that you maintain these settings very accurately. Now here in the second section, we should describe the methods. Okay, if it is a circuit project, then here in the second section, you should describe the methods. And for the circuit project, you have to describe the components and the methods that you are using. And inside this, you may have some software description, some hardware description, and so on. And if it is just a literature review, then you basically do not have any method section. Also, you do not have any results section. So you just directly jump into the literature review section. But if it is a project, then you do have the second section as the method, where you describe the methods. And the third section should be your results section, where you describe some of the measurements that you have done. So if it is a project, then you must have a method, and it may be a simulation based paper, or it may be a circuit based hardware paper with some codings and some software. So describe whatever you have used in this work in the method, and in the results section, summarize all the results that you have obtained by making some measurements or running some simulations. So that should be your second and third section of your actual work paper, where you are doing a simulation or you are making a circuit. But if it is a literature review paper, I'm just repeating one more time, then you do not really have any method and results. You just directly jump into a second section that is called the literature review section. So if you are reviewing a topic, say for example the light sensor, so that is a literature review topic, then you basically do not have any method or results. You just directly jump into your second section, which is the literature review section. So your introduction is your first section, and then your second section would be literature review if it is a review paper. But if it is a simulation paper or a circuit project paper, then your first section would be introduction, second section would be method, and the third section would be the results. Sometimes there is also a fourth section which is called discussion, and some people like to actually merge the results and discussion together. So it depends on the writer. There is no hard and fast ruling on this. So some people like to separate the discussion of the results on a separate section. Some people like to mingle them together in the third section, which is called results and discussion. So do whatever you like. Now, there may be many other subsections and sections in your paper, and in your paper there may be some equations. So if you have some equation, then please use the Microsoft equation editor. Please do not type the equation other than using the Microsoft equation editor. So if you don't know how to use the Microsoft equation editor, please try to take a look at the Google, search by the Microsoft equation editor and learn how to use this. This is just a tool inside the MS Word, and learning this is a great technical skill that you are going to learn through writing this paper. Okay, then if you have any subsection under the main sections, then just write them like this, A, B, C, and so on. And make sure that the headings for these subsections are exactly like this that is given here. You may have some in-text citations whenever you describe something that is taken from some other sources, like some other website or some other journal papers or conference paper. You need to cite them exactly where you are going to cite. So this in-text citation, this is called in-text citation. These in-text citations are very, very important. You must cite them inside the text wherever you are referring to any source. So this goes in the numerical way chronologically. So the first citation that you make would be 1 inside the third bracket, and the next citation would be 2, and so on. So here the number 7 citation is from the seventh source that they are going to refer to. So at the end of the paper, you should be more elaborate about these references, and there you have to use the same name and you have to write more about the references. So we are going to see that in the next page. So that goes, the list of references and the details are usually at the end of the paper after the conclusion, and we are going to see that in the next page. Now, inside these subsections, you may have some bullet points or some numbering. That is always fine. And if you have some equations, you may sometimes refer them inside the text. You may have some figures in your paper, and you also have to describe them in paragraphs. So this is very important, that if you have a table or equation or figure, you have to properly number them. Like this is equation number 1. If you have your figure, then the first one would be figure 1. If you have a table, the first one would be table 1. And every single topic that you have, you must describe those. You must not just put all the figures or all the tables without any description. You must describe them, and while describing, you have to nicely refer to the content that you are describing here. Like in equation 1, we describe this, or in table 1, we describe this. In figure 1, we describe this. So you have to refer to every single component that you have and describe the result figures or whatever figures you are adding, or table or equation. None of your component must be undescribed. Now here we can see some examples of the table that you may have in your paper. So this is an example of the table that you see here. So just like this, you also have to number the table as table 1, table 2, and so on. And also the table would also have a uh, description. So the description of the table would tell what you are going to show here inside the table. Now the figure, when you want to add a figure, usually you can just create a text box. So if you want to see here, if you just go to insert, you have to insert a text box. So inside the text box, you just write the figure caption and put the image file of the text box. So when a text box is created, it just shows you a blank box like this, and inside the text box put this figure caption like this here. So you just write the figure caption like this, fig.1. That is how the IEEE papers figures are numbered. And then you have to write the caption. Every figure must have a caption, and you should end the caption with a period or full stop. And here, instead of any text, you just put the image. So here, in order to put the image, you have to go to insert picture and then find the PNG format picture or JPEG format picture here. So the maximum width of your figure must be the width of the column itself, which is around 3.4 inch. This column is about 3.4 inch usually. So never exceed the column width. And if you want to add a figure that is wider than the space that is given here, then you can put a much wider figure like this, that is stretching in two of the columns. So for that, you just have to take this text box and you have to just stretch it in the uh, all other directions. So you just have to stretch this text box and you can make this text box wider. And after making this text box wide, you can put your images, PNG or JPEG images inside this. Now, if you don't know how to use the text boxes, then please again search in the Google about how to use the text boxes and so on. You can easily get the information. Your fourth section should be the conclusion. And here you would like to conclude what you have done in this paper. So start with the description of what you have done and then describe the method briefly and then describe some of the important results, and always conclude the paper with a positive tone of applications or possible applications of the topic that you are working on this paper. So it's like the final ending of your paper. So remember that there are two endings in a paper. So the abstract itself was a summary, and then you had the entire paper. So the abstract also had a concluding sentence, and here you are concluding the entire paper with your conclusion. So the conclusion would also have a concluding sentence or concluding paragraph where you have to end this paper with some positive tone and some promising applications or so on. So you don't have to add any acknowledgement section because in any course report or papers, you don't need to add these. But usually when you write the actual IEEE papers, there might be some people who helped you with your paper, but do not really do not really qualify to be a co-author. So we keep their names in the acknowledgement. Or if we use this setup or experimental setup for somebody else's lab, then we also say thank or acknowledge those facilities in the acknowledgement section. Some people also acknowledge the funding sources in the acknowledgement section. So for you, you do not have anything, so please ignore this acknowledgement section. And at the end of your paper, you have the references. And here, see that here is a more detailed list of these 7 references that they used. So all these citations were first cited inside the text wherever it was appropriate. Remember that you must show the marker where these papers are cited, okay, where these sources are cited. So those are the in-text citation, but the one that you have here is the list of references. Here you give all the details of these references. So this is also called the bibliography. uh, we do not use the word bibliography, we just need to know about the word bibliography, but we just put the heading as references, okay. So this is called the bibliography, and this bibliographic list of references have a very special IEEE citation format. So you have to use the IEEE citation style. If you just search in the Google by IEEE citation style, you are going to get all these styles information for the journals or conference papers or websites or thesis or books or book chapters. So there are different styles of citation for different types of publication. So according to the publication that you are going to cite here, you have to follow the dedicated style. Now, this is going to be a manual practice for you this time, but I'm just letting you know that this can also be done in an automated way. So we usually use the automated tool like Mendeley. And this is just for your information, but you do not have to use Mendeley for this course paper or report. But this time you're not going to use the Mendeley, you're just going to do it manually. So by manually, you have to be very careful about the references that you are using, and you have to follow the IEEE citation style. So if you just search in the Google, you're going to get some information about the citation styles that are followed in IEEE. So you have to list the author's names and the publisher's name accordingly, according to this citation style. Now, this was on the description of the template, and here You have to read every single line written here inside the description. That is a very important task for you, because if you do not read what is written inside, then you are not going to learn about the template itself. So read this entire document very carefully to learn more about the writing styles and the formatting of this paper. So next, I'm going to show you the actual example with one of my published papers. So this is an example of one of my published papers at an international conference, and this paper also won the Best Paper Award. So here I added the title here, and in my paper template, the author's names were slightly written slightly different, but in your case it looks a little bit different. But don't be afraid about the different styles, because different IEEE conferences sometimes use slightly different templates. So here I have my abstract, and if you follow the abstract, you will find that I have followed the first sentence, second sentence according to the rules that I have told you. So you can take a look at the length of my abstract and also what I have written. Of course, in the first sentence, you'll find there is the description of the field. In the next sentence, I have, of course, described in a very like compact sentence what I have done in this paper, and with some description of the methods, I have directly started describing the results from here, and all those results are described up to here. Sometimes we also add some numerical information in the results, but there must not be a lot of numerical information in the results section. For example, I only have one numerical number here. Some people also add a few more, but make sure that you do not have too much numerical numbers in the results section of the abstract. So these are the main results that I obtained in this work, and I'm concluding this abstract with a promising sentence. Then the next is my introduction, and of course the first paragraph of the introduction would be the description of the field. And then from here, so this is the description of the field. So next I'm going to start doing the literature review from here, and my literature review would take a little longer because I am using different materials and also different systems. So I have to describe all those things. So this is my literature review section. Also, this is also another literature review paragraph. So of course, in the next page, we're going to start our third component of the introduction, which is in this work, we have done this. I also have a figure in the inside the introduction, which you may also have, and a figure may have some subsections like this, A, B, C, and D. And I have the figure number given here, and this is the caption. If you have different sections in your figure like ABCD, all the sections must be described. You must describe in what section you have what, and you may have some citation inside the caption also, and end this caption with a full stop. This is a mandatory thing. One last thing that I would like to tell you here is that look at the citations. The first paragraph is described from this source, so I have cited it here. Then I have my second citation here, which I have cited again here because all these things are basically taken from the second source. My third source is here, and then my fourth is here. So notice that here every single information that I'm taking from other places must be nicely cited. And if I leave something uncited, then that would be my own invention, my own contribution. So usually in the introduction, you describe about the field and the literature review. So you usually expect to have citations in those citations from other sources here. So make sure that your literature review part and the field description also has the citation accordingly. So let's move on to the next page and see how we are going to conclude the introduction. So here I'm describing how what we are going to do in this work. So the last paragraph of our introduction is here that I'm starting with. In this work, we have done this. So I also have a description of all the things that and all the things that we have done and all the interesting things that we have observed. Then I'm starting my method section in section number 2, and I also have an elaborated method section. So my method section took 2 sections. Section 2 is also my method. This is also method. Sometimes the name of the method may be more instead of just using the word method, you can use the actual method that you have used. For example, for a circuit project, you can use the hardwares as one of your method section, and you can use another method section as the codes and softwares. So that is the method section, and you may take more than one method section, as I said. So let's move on to the next page and see that we have another method section. So this is my second method section where I'm describing about the experiments. So similarly, you may have your second method section where you describe your codes and softwares if it is a circuit project. But if it is a literature review, you may not have any method or result section. So in that case, just directly jump into the literature review section. And inside the literature review section, you may have many more subsections. So here my fourth section is results. And at the same time, I'm also showing many figures in the method section. For example, I had a figure 2 in the last page, which was related to this section number 2, and this is related to section number 3. So notice that I'm describing every single figure section inside the text as well here, and I'm citing which figure I'm talking about. So if you are talking about a specific figure or figure section, then you have to specifically refer to that figure or figure section. So none of your figure section must be undescribed. You have to describe every single figure or table that you have in your paper. So this is an example of the table that I have added here. So this table can look different because there is no specification for the table formatting in IEEE papers. So you may either take the table formatting that you see here. This table formatting is mostly taken for the IEEE journals. But you can take a very simple looking table as well. But the table should also have a table name and also a table caption. So this is my table caption. And then I'm going to show you how I'm concluding my paper. But before that, just notice that some of your figures may be 2-column wide. Say, for example, here, my figure 5 is 2-column wide. So what I did is that I just took a text box and stretched it toward the second column. And then inside that, I put the figure and the combined image that is prepared from other softwares. These figures can be prepared with many other softwares, but you have to combine them either in Microsoft Visio or in PowerPoint. Then I have concluded my paper here in section number 5, where I'm going to describe the things that I have done in this paper. And also I have described some of the methods and the results. And of course, I'm going to end my paper with a positive and promising sentence. So I have one acknowledgement, which you are not going to have. And also I have the list of references here, and see that all the references has been written using the IEEE citation format. Look at the internet for more information. That was a very simple description of our IEEE conference paper template description. So please do write your paper and let me know if you have any confusion. Thank you very much for your attention.